Before we get started, I just want to give people a quick update. I was down at IT Nation last week. That was the largest collaboration of vendors, companies like us in the world. It is a collaboration community of what's going on in the world of IT, security, business continuity, and there was a lot of unknowns in what's going on. It was, I think, one of the best slides we saw from one of the persons all about statistics is that they have information now on presidential elections. And for the last 5 presidential elections, it's showing how many people have uncertainty and how so many companies are hesitant. And they kind of saw September, October, everyone kind of held on to their money. And then in November, it starts December, but it doesn't matter whether it's a Republican, Democrat. That cycle's been the same for the last, so since 2004, they had statistics. And as we saw our numbers, it pretty much has made it, as we went back and looked at our stuff, that you can kind of see this dip. So I'm not sure people in your particular industry, can you notice the same thing? So I thought that statistic was pretty amazing. I think most of us know we're going to have a couple more upcoming technology workshops. At the 4 or 5 biggest things that clients and prospects and the end user wants to know about is how to use artificial intelligence in your environment. Also to have a better business continuity plan for updates, and also from a security standpoint, what do we need to do? So we went out and got someone from the FBI, and we're going to have them join us in a panel in our session in March. And also in January 21st, we're going to do a deeper dive on what we call disaster recovery as a service. And that's how you as a business have other means to get to your data besides if your building was down, your servers were down in the cloud, you have another option to run your business. I always think of it as a generator in my house. I lose my power, the generator goes on, I can operate like usual. But today's focus looks like everyone that was registered has hopped on. So good morning and welcome to PCG's Technology Workshop. We have an exciting topic today, and we're going to talk about the Teams Plus VoIP platform, the next generation for you as an organization. That could be an old PBX phone system or an existing VoIP system. And we're going to kind of showcase today how the Teams platform has come around and how it can potentially help your business. So again, we thank you for taking the time out of the day. We've got about 30 minutes today. My name is Dave Hodgdon. I'm the current CIO, CEO and Chief Technology Advisor for PCG. And my guest today, who's a lot smarter than me in the Teams world, is Miss Sydney Huggins. Sydney, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Happy to be here. I'm with Teams Plus. I'm a practice manager, and we help deliver Teams as a phone system.
Excellent. So she'll be doing the majority of the presentation at the end. So welcome, Sydney, and thanks for helping out today. It's important to have subject matter experts. So as much as PCG, we're good at it, but we're really not the people in the background to help deliver this to you. Pretty straightforward agenda today, gang. We're going to do some current VoIP trends, some current statistics, some shifts in the workplace. We all know what happened in 2020, how everyone separated, work from home, and things really changed at that point in the world of VoIP. We're going to talk about how Teams Plus VoIP is a better single solution in one pane that you can have better collaboration, analytics, and save money, significant money, and how to have plan out a successful migration. So pretty straight agenda for us today. This statistic is pretty much is the cat's meow. It's pretty much showing what's going on. And in the world of IT, and I know a lot of people hate our acronyms, hardware as a service, firewall as a service, but UCaaS is the unified calling as a service. You're going to use the cloud and pay a monthly fee for the services that you need, local, long distance, whatever service plan you need. And then from there, we'll talk about the type of phone you need. So, but UCaaS is the terminology. Microsoft was not a player back in 2015, 17, 18, but after the pandemic, they still were just okay. But as you can see by this chart right here on the right-hand side, and we know we've heard of RingCentral, we've heard of Zoom, but Microsoft has just leapfrogged and just skyrocketing and taking a big market share. It's a lot because they kind of own the Microsoft email, the application, the server, so they've invested a lot of money in that platform. There's over 320 million daily active users worldwide in the Teams VoIP platform. And it really has changed how we work in this remote hybrid workforce. I remember I want to say I was a late adopter, but I never believed in hiring remote people. We always wanted people to come to the office. And in today's world, that's a difficult way to just hire. People want to work remotely. They need some flexibility. So having that system, the ability for that person to work anywhere, anytime on the same platform is key right there. But this deck is available for anyone that we send to it. So deploying the Microsoft Teams, it really comes down to two things. You need to have the right license in place. So you need the Microsoft Teams license. You currently might have your Microsoft standard or premium, your standard plan. It does not include the Teams calling plans. We'll add that one license on top of that. And then the big part is where Sydney's team comes in, is determining the calling plan. So we've teamed up with Teams Plus because we felt dealing with Microsoft is not easy. Dealing with them for support, technical support, taxes, having the best possible pricing. And we started our way, but we realized over time that's not the easiest and best method for a company like us to support you. And so it's important for my PCG to find a partner to help us there. So at that point, Teams Plus really helps us on the calling plans, on your local, your long distance. You really want to have the right plan because not everybody's calling overseas. A lot of people don't need a calling plan, so it's important that we do that assessment right there. They have the ability for the operator connect, which Sydney will go through, and the direct routing to get those numbers to you. Any other feedback on those two options right there, Sydney?
Yes, so we are Operator Connect partner. Under the Teams Plus brand, you'll see us in the admin center and in the directory. So then that essentially just means that Microsoft has taken a good hard look at our network and vetted us and given us the stamp of approval to deliver PSTN through Teams.
Excellent, thank you. So Teams has your standard, I think most of us, I won't go into detail, but your standard features here is the auto attendant. We believe in a live person answering the voice, so we try to answer the phone. But a lot of people have an auto attendant. You call in the main number. If you know your party's extension, hit their 3-letter. If you want sales, press 1. If you want tech support, press 2. So whether you want to answer the phone live, you have the auto attendant during normal business hours or after hours of the phone. So having the auto attendant allows us to customize however you want to deal with your customers and vendors. You can customize that auto attendant. Ring groups are very popular. We use them here at PCG. We have our technical ring group. We have our sales group. We have our accounting group. So when they call the number specific to that group, it'll ring the people in that team. So the ability to pick up that number, which is good. Like anytime when someone calls and they want to speak to someone, you have the ability to park that call, find out if the person they're trying to call wants to take that call. And it's so easy within the system to transfer the calls, whether or not you want to do a direct transfer or actually speak to them about that. DIDs is probably a lot of you used to having your own number. So I always say that if my wife's calling me, why does she have to call the front desk and waste their time? She has my DID number, just call me directly. So having that direct line is important to the people that you know to want to call you directly. In the world of conferencing, that's the cat's meow again. Everyone wants to have conference calls. So you have up to 1,000 people on a conference call. That number is just consistently growing, but great way if you want to do Teams meetings, if you're doing vendor things, but having conferencing is great. Phones has always been, I probably feel, one of the hardest things. No one wants to give up their hard phone. And I know when we cut over, I said, I got to have a phone. I had it on my desk for about a week or two, and then it just sat on the floor. So I think the people at the front desk need one. Us old timers like me prefer the hard phone, but the nice thing with the Teams platform, you can choose, people like to wear the headset. You might wear the wireless headset. I'm speaking to you directly just through my camera and webcam. You can use the phone, you can use your cell phone. So however your user wants to take or make that call, we have the ability to help you. And I think it's probably in your best interest to purchase that. I think the average Teams Plus phone is about, probably $200. So depending on what you want, you can use your existing stuff. The Teams mobile app is cool, so you'll be able to have that on your cell phone, so you have the ability to take calls from anywhere. Anything else on those features there, Sydney?
Yeah, just echo that Teams mobile app is amazing. It's very user friendly. And all the calling features that I'm going to show today will be embedded in that same app, so you don't have to download a separate app to make a call.
I'm gonna pass it over to Sydney. You're past my pay grade and skill set, so Sydney, I'll let you take it from here.
Great. So these are the Teams Plus enhanced features, and that just means these are features that we've developed. They're going to be unique to our offering in the space. We have a text app, and that sits in Teams. You'll see it today, and that enables you to text, so real SMS and MMS from your Teams phone number, a single group texting and broadcast text features in there. And we built in features like opt in and opt out and consent to keep you compliant with all the regulations in the industry these days. We also have user analytics, which you'll see today. And those are comprised of customizable dashboards, reports that you can schedule and automatically run, and you'll see both sides. You'll see business analytics, so more, like a CEO type might want to see, and then more technical analytics as well. So someone like an administrator would want to see. We also have real-time queue analytics, which gives you live data. So the real-time data on your call queues. So if you choose to set up those call queues, you might want to know how many calls are waiting in the queue right now, and how many agents are available to take those calls. And finally, call recording. We've developed a always-on Teams call recording tool. This one, you don't have to set it like a Teams meeting. It'll always be on in the background, capturing 100% of the voice interactions in Teams. And that includes even internal Teams to Teams, external, as well as Teams meetings. And even some cool features I'll show you, like listening in and barging into a conversation. So with
Sydney,
that, I think, yeah.
Sydney, quick question, a couple. As far as the current numbers that you have, I mean, do you get to keep those in Teams Plus?
Yes, absolutely. So we'll handle the porting for you. We've trained the PCG team to do this as well. So the porting will be handled in a white glove process. It's most often the headache of a project, so we take that on for you, and we can transfer numbers that you currently have over to Teams Plus with no problem.
Great.
One
And
thing
similar question. Oh, go ahead,
on
Dave.
that same thing we've noticed a lot of times when we port numbers, a lot of times there's no reason to have them. So it's a good time for us to assess all the numbers the company might have. They'd have multiple sites or an 800 number. So where things have changed, it's a good time because you might be able to remove those from your bill. So it is a good time to assess those numbers.
Great. And a similar related question in terms of the current phones that folks have, those current VoIP phones, is it a changeover there as well, or can those stay?
My answer is probably 10% Wendy, they'll work. The phone has to be a Teams compatible IP phone. If the phone is 4, 5, 6 years old, or you might have been using it from your 8x8, your Ring Central, a Zoom, or a previous provider, Star to Star, there's many VoIP providers out there. That phone probably will not work, Wendy. So you kind of have to assess the phone there. If it is a Teams compatible phone, like a Polycom, a Yealink that is there, absolutely we'll use that phone.
Great.
Awesome. So this slide is just a preview of what you're about to see in the demo. I'm going to go ahead and take over the screen here and jump right into it. And feel free, if you have a question, feel free to type it in the chat, and Wendy can call it out to me and we'll get it answered in real time. All right, so I'm sharing my Teams desktop application. And we'll focus, of course, just in on the calling piece here. But as you probably know, Teams is an amazing tool for internal chatting. You can have your calendar in here, and your calls will be simply in the Calls tab. There's not a separate app that you'll need to download to make a call. It's in the native Teams Calls app. In here, once you get the two pieces you need, so the Microsoft licensing and the calling plan, you'll have a dial pad that appears here. And that enables you to make a call outside your organization just as easy as you can make an internal call. Your users are going to have no issues learning how to use this. It's very user friendly. So to make an internal call, If you have extension dialing today where you've got to remember somebody's extension, that goes away with Teams. It's very simple. You just need to know the person's name that you want to talk to. And then an external call, all you have to do is start typing in a phone number. I'll put my cell phone, for example. Or if you want to talk to someone quite often, you can save them in the people, that's your contacts, or even as a speed dial. So Mary Smith, for example, that's one of my top clients. I'll go ahead and type in her name, and I can click to call as myself. There's delegate features, so someone could give you the ability to call on their behalf or accept a call on their behalf. So I can call as a couple of other accounts here. And as Dave mentioned, every user gets their own direct inward dial, or DID. That's always at the bottom of the dial pad there, so they can see it. And if you had extension dialing today that you wanted to preserve to the outside world, that's completely fine. You could have your customers call in, enter that extension they're used to dialing, and it can translate over to the DID. And here you'll see the history of your calls that have come in, gone out, and your voicemail comes here as well. So a great thing about Teams is you don't need a PIN to access your voicemail. You're already authenticated when you sign in. So you click into your voicemail, whichever one you want to listen to, see the transcription. It's automatic transcription. Listen to the audio file here. It also gets emailed automatically to you. So it'll pop over to your email, and you get it in the mobile app as well. So everything I'm showing here is in the mobile app. And I'll jump into settings just for a brief moment. Each end user can configure their call settings however they like. It's a lot of configuration options here. They can do a simultaneous ring. They can forward calls. They can redirect to a call group or a call or a delegate from here. So a lot of ways to configure the settings to fit your use case. I think I saw a question pop in. Let's see. Can a DID bit be disabled? I assume, yeah. If you don't want someone to be able, I think you mean if you don't want them to be able to make an outbound call, corporate policy. Yeah, I'm not sure the context, but you don't have to give somebody a DID. Or you just want to block them from receiving no direct inbound calls.
Yeah,
I mean, let me unmute Rob.
Oh, okay.
Rob, can you hear us? Can you chat now, or is that? I think I unmuted you. Allow mic now.
I think we'll just keep him. We can get in touch with him. But yeah, from he's asking that the DID is not needed, or for outbound, yes, you can block that.
Yep, we can do that. All right, so I'll go ahead and place a live call. I'm going to call over to my Lois Lane account from my personal cell just to show you some of the features live. And there she is. I called her Mary Smith, so it recognized that contact name. And when I answer the call, it's going to look very similar to a Teams meeting. Right here, it pops out into a separate screen, and all my controls are at the top, very similar to a Teams meeting, but there are some specific to a call that I have now. So I have a dial pad. If this was an outbound call, maybe I'd need my dial pad to key in my selection. I can put the caller on hold. Fun thing with Teams is you can upload your own hold music, or you can just use the default hold music that they have. And a few things I can do with this call. Let's say I'm a receptionist and this call is not for me. I need to transfer it. I can transfer it in one of two ways, either regular transfer, which you might know as a cold transfer, or a consult then transfer, and that you may know as a warm transfer. So here, the cold transfer, it's going to put the caller on hold. I will choose who I want to transfer it over to. And if you have queues set up, you could transfer this over to a queue as well. It doesn't have to be a single person. Let's just choose this one. Let's just say Tony. And I can see they're available. Another nice thing about Teams is I always know what everybody's doing in Teams. I have live presence there, LinkedIn, so I can see he's available. I could transfer it over to him. Or let's say he's not available, I can send it straight to voicemail or any other number that's configured in the Entra ID for him. Maybe I want to ring it back to me if he doesn't answer. I have that option as well. And then here, maybe I want to talk to that person before I transfer the call over. I want to warm transfer it. I could do that. Let's say Tony. And Tony, since he is internal to my organization, I could chat with him. It would open up a separate chat window where I could tell Tony, the context of the conversation. I could also type in an external number and an audio call that person before I transfer it over. And maybe I just don't feel like typing it out. I can audio call Tony, no problem, talk to him, give him the context, and then transfer the call over to him. But I'll show you how the chat looks. So I can say, hey Tony, I've got Mary on the line with a question about this. And then depending on what he says, I can transfer it over here or just send it to voicemail if I needed to. And then here in the people area, I can see who's in this call, but more importantly, I can invite someone into the call or conference them in. And this, you'll see it creates a Teams meeting. So once I invite that third party in, it's going to elevate it to a Teams meeting. And there, the sky's the limit, really. It's a thousand people limit there. But before I do that, I'll just show you this here. You can record and transcribe a PSTN call just the same as a Teams meeting. So you have that option. It's just a flip of the switch in the admin center. You can do that here. I could also park this call. This is a completely optional feature, but if I wanted to park it, I could get a code and share it with someone in my environment and they would be able to pick it up. And
Sydney,
lastly, I'll just show. Yeah.
Quick question. I think I'm understanding this right from Kristen. She's asking internally, I'm assuming as the dialer, can you directly leave a voicemail for someone rather than going through? Can you yourself skip right to their voicemail? I think that's your question, Kristen.
Oh, instead of transferring someone over, could I just go into the voicemail?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. It's like I don't want to talk to you, but I would love to leave you a message. If it's not a feature, I think it should be, Kristen.
I don't think that's one of the options. I think you'd have to yeah, because it transfers the third party over to that person's voicemail, not yourself, if I'm understanding the question correctly.
Sometimes when they try to transfer me a call, I don't want to speak to them, and then they just transfer, it goes to my voicemail. So I get the call, the receptionist asks me, I got the X on the call, I'm busy right now, just send my voicemail, and I don't answer that call. So I think that might partially answer that, Kristen.
No, I think actually, Dave, I think Kristen's call, the way I asked it was right, is that she's asking, can I say, hey, I'm Wendy, I don't want to talk to Dave today, but I do want to leave him a voicemail. Can I go straight through to his voicemail? I think that's the question. I think it's a great one. Sydney, let's ask Microsoft if they can add that.
I see. Yeah, just go straight to voicemail. Like almost like a voice note when you're texting someone.
Well, Tim's on the call from your team, so I assume he'll assign that. He'll answer response in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I was showing here was adding someone. I added a third party, added Tony, and then I created a Teams meeting. So I have chat in here. Now Tony and I could be chatting here on the side. Mary, she's still connected through the PSTN on her cell phone. She can't see this maybe coaching session here. I could start sharing my camera, sharing my screen from here. I'm going to go ahead and leave that call. I'm going to go ahead and jump into some of the enhancements just in the interest of time. So first being our text app. So this enables you to text from that same number that you're making calls from. We call it single reach. So you can give somebody your phone number, say, here you go, you can call me or text me there. Alternatively, if you wanted to just have a phone number separate for texting, you could do that too. There might be some use cases for that. So you can do simple things like just one-on-one text. You could also do group texts of up to 10 participants. You can add in things like consent features. So maybe in a healthcare environment, you want to stay HIPAA compliant. You want to ask your patients if they agree to discussing sensitive information over text. If they agree, you can keep texting. If they deny, you would be blocked from texting them further. As well as SMS, there's also MMS. So that just means multimedia. So things like pictures. I could send an attachment that would be multimedia as well. So I could upload something from my computer. I could use emojis. So this is where it gets fun. All the emojis that you're kind of used to with your cell phone, you can choose from here if you want to make that fun. And you can choose from templated responses. So these are preset phrases that you might want to give your users. You can configure whatever phrases you'd like to give them options here. You can organize your contacts here. This will pull in, it does sync with your Outlook, so it pulls in Outlook contacts. And you can favorite conversations here. So we see a lot of cool use cases with this text app. Everything from marketing to scheduling teams are using it. Happy to dive into further demos if you're interested. We can dig into it a little bit more. But I will move on to the next thing. So here we are in our user analytics dashboards. So these are dashboards that give you metrics from your team's usage. So it can pull things like inbound call handling, how quickly are you answering calls, what's the average duration of calls, where the calls are coming from in the world, or just simple things like an inbound summary of calls by employee, whether they answered or missed, and outbound as well. This is completely customizable. This is just one dashboard that I've created. And you can license this out to a mid-level manager, and they wouldn't be able to make any changes like an admin would. So this tool is perfect for somebody. They just need the metrics that they need to see. And they can easily create new layouts, choose what tiles they want in each, what metrics they want here. And this is a particular day. I'm just looking at yesterday, for example, but I could look at trends if I wanted to, put a little time frame there, look at trends over this, let's say the past 6 months, all the data aggregated. And I can put filters on here as well. So maybe I just want to look at one department or one call queue. I can really narrow down what I want to look at. The second piece to this is scheduled reports. So today you might have the admin center. You can get a few reports out of there, but they're very limited. Microsoft curates them and they're very limited and you're not allowed to schedule them. So this tool solves for that. You can create reports, schedule them to run whatever frequency you'd like. They'll automatically run an email to you. I have an example of one here. We didn't get a lot into auto attendance and call queues, but I know Dave explained that those are possible in Teams. So you might want to see how many calls are coming into those auto attendants, how many are being answered, which ones are flowing into queues. So you can get all of that information within the reporting section.
Yeah, one thing, Sydney, on the calling from our sales team, we're always trying to see the dials. So, we use HubSpot, we use Zoom Info, but a lot of times they can be outside of that, and we have the ability to track the calls on the Teams platform, so we can actually have those good metrics because we have expectations for our sales reps to make X amount of calls or touches a day.
Right, right. And even if you want to see, since Tim is here, I'll pick on Tim.
Oh, no.
Let's say you're a manager of that sales team and one of your employees, you just want to see what they're up to. You can pinpoint exactly what this person's been up to in a particular time frame. Let's say the past 2 weeks. I can see all of Tim's calls here, all of his conferences organized. These are Teams meetings, any that he's attended, whether he's organized or not. And anything here in blue is a hyperlink, so I could really pinpoint down into a particular call. And this is internal and external. or a particular meeting here. I could even see, if someone joined late, or if you can see late or left early. So you can see a lot of data with this tool, maybe more than you want to, but. And let's see, the other piece is the real-time dashboard. So this you may want to know if you have call queues set up. You might want to know what's going on in real time. How many active calls do I have right now? In this particular queue, how many agents are logged on? How many are available, actually ready to take calls? I can pull in live presence for anyone in my Teams tenant. If I want to see here who's online, who's on a call, who's available, who's busy. And this is a big one here. How many calls do I actually have live waiting in my queue? So this is a big one you couldn't see until very recently. Microsoft just didn't have the visibility for you. So you could see if I've got 20 calls waiting in my queue, but only one available agent, that's a big problem there. So I need to start pulling in more agents and alleviating that queue. So this is a tool for a supervisor, someone who's managing that queue of agents. And all these tools, as you can probably tell, are kind of pushing teams out of UCaaS into CCaaS, or unified communications, into contact center, or contact center as a service. So you can kind of see it's almost bridging the gap between the two. So a lot of our clients are using Teams as a light contact center, and it's working great for them with these tools that kind of enhance it. And then lastly, we have a call recording tool that I mentioned before. So this is really getting into that contact center space where maybe you have a requirement to record all your calls, or maybe you just want to have them for quality assurance. You want to pick them out and listen to them, see how folks are doing. Maybe you've got a new agent starting and you just want to see how their first call went. You could go in and listen to it. You could start to build notes in here if you wanted to put notes in here. You could start to categorize all of your recordings, download it, you could share the recording with someone else. And here it records just the users that you want to record. It doesn't have to be everybody. And you can give access to this tool. Let's say your manager needs access to this tool, you can give it to them and they can just see their recordings for their team. So you can give granular access to the tool. And this is kind of a neat feature here. You can listen in on live calls. So supervisor, let's say you do have that new person starting and you just kind of want to be a fly on the wall, listen in to how it's going. Now this is my call here. So you can see this is my name. I could listen in. It's called Silent Intrude, and no one on the call will get any type of notification that I'm listening in. And then if this wasn't my call already, I could barge in. I would have an option to barge in here if it's not going well, and I would just be conferenced into the call, and then I could help alleviate whatever situation was going on. And if I did need to take sensitive information, PII, I would pause the recording, take that information, and then resume the recording afterwards. And this is all stored securely. We always store it in our customers' Azure storage, so we don't store the recordings for privacy, and you control the retention. All right, so we do have a few minutes for questions now. Let's see, were there any that I didn't get to?
Sydney, one question that came up as far as making a move on this and transferring over, what does that process look like? How long does a cutover take? Can you address that, or maybe Dave can?
Yeah, that's a great question. So on average, it's about 45 days. It can go quicker if you need to accelerate the timeline. Porting is always the long pole in the tent. But like I said, we handle the hard part for you. So from start to finish, about 45 days. And as we mentioned before, you can keep your own numbers. In the PCG team, they'll handle everything from project management start to finish. It's a white glove process. So you can probably speak to that more, Dave.
Yeah, I think, Sydney, the key success of any migration or cutover to any system is the proper planning. So the first thing is understanding what's in place, taking a good view of the current phone bills, where there's some potential savings, finding the right subscription for each partner to Microsoft, confirming what we need for local, long distance, does anyone need international calls, and really just kind of talk through it and really talk about how you're doing your auto attendant now. Do you have ring groups? I think the thing we got the most pushback was phones or headsets. So now we've really, as we talk to people, there's nothing worse. You put out there, well, I hate this headset. I don't want to use this phone right here. So I think that's probably the hardest part, that when you do this, I think we've done probably 12 to 15 teams, and it's probably, it's happening quite frequently right now that we're doing it. So each time you do it, you kind of learn something new, this new nugget. Oh, that's a good question. Let's add that to our checklist. But the key to any successful cutover is to plan it, and then the cutover day, the team's ready. And the feedback from most people, it's easier. People in finance like the billing, because on average, if depending on what you have and what you get, you could potentially have 20, 30, 40% savings. So I think the key to, as Sydney said earlier, from start to finish, by the time we engage you, talk to you, get all the details, get it quoted, get approved, that might be a month or two, but then you kind of plan that cutover. And I think 30 to 60 days, you don't want to rush it. We just did a cutover because one of our clients, they had their yearly renew upcoming for Ring Central. They didn't want to pay for it. So we found it like on November 1st. That was November 24th. We expedited, we just did the cutover yesterday. So you prefer to have that little bit bigger window so everything goes well, but very successful. But if you can go to that last slide, Sydney, that we had on the on our deck would be fantastic.
Yeah. Let me switch. There we go.
So right, to me, this checklist is the king. And once we understand, a lot of people, you might have a contract in place, so you kind of want to look where who your current player is, when is that up, is there a notice that needs to be given. So a lot of that time should be being proactive right now. You might have a contract through March, April, May. Well, you don't really want to pay for two systems, so I would probably ride that one out unless there's a problem. I really take a look at the current contract in place and give them ample notice. Take a good look at the bill to what numbers you want ported over. Maybe people don't have DIDs, we want DIDs. Determine if all these phone numbers are needed. I think in the world of 800 numbers, we used to have one. We don't really have one anymore. I think the tree setup, and what I mean by the tree is when a call comes in, how do you want it to, is it a live voice? Is it auto attended? Is it ring groups? Is it going to directly someone's voicemail? How you anticipate, the nice thing, and Sydney can add more to it, it's pretty darn easy to custom. It might not have a perfect tame one, but I think having that initial setup, and I always like doing the old whiteboard, just confirm it's right. And as I said earlier in our conversation, the biggest noise we got was the device. So really understanding, does that person really want a phone set, a headset, a half ear set, talk to the microphone, just because I have an office with no noise around me. So that's very easy not to, but if you have a lot of people in a bullpen, you have to have a headset with the right noise canceling mic to kill out the noise. And it gets pretty noisy. We've got like 6 or 8 guys working the same area, but we have the right headsets. They don't hear the external noise. And some people, well, do I need to buy a phone? No, you can use your cell phone as the device. So really, I think those are probably the good checklist. And I think that's it. But were there any more questions in the portal?
Hold on. Not that I see, no.
Okay. Well, we always say everyone's time is busy. We said we keep it to 45 minutes. So I think we're at 42 minutes. So I'm happy. Usually I always go over. So that's a good thing. I really appreciate Sydney joining us on the whole Teams Plus platform. And if your organization is interested in having that discussion, you know how to reach PCG, and can reach out to Amy, and she's happy to get the ball going with you. And as Sydney's saying, just take a look at the current contract when it's up, have that discussion, within 60, 70 days, in that period, you can be in the wonderful world of Teams Plus. and have all that collaboration. Getting rid of, I feel simplifying your stack is easier. And one thing I noticed with many organizations, we find out how many people are using a service that someone in finance or operations or sales didn't know. I think having everything simplified is much easier, and you can control those costs. So thank you again for joining. We have our upcoming webinar on disaster recovery service on January 21st. And we figure, since I'm a big hoop fan, during the month of March Madness, we're going to do some high-end security with a panel with the FBI agent. Everyone on the call, it was announced a few days ago that Microsoft is raising their prices on, I don't know, of all days, April Fool's Day, but it is no fool. But April 1st, they're raising their prices 5%. But most of you on the call here have a current plan in place which renews in March. So when our Amy or Todd reach out to you, you'll be able to renew that before that 5% kicks in. So we believe don't give Microsoft any additional money, but it's a good time to look at the current contacts of who needs the plan and get you on the right plan. But any closing comments, Sydney?
No, thank you so much for having me today. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Sydney. Thank you, everyone, for joining. If anyone has any questions, please reach out to Amy, and happy to assist. And have a great day. And we're right around the corner of holidays. I wish all of you have a fantastic Thanksgiving with your family. And thanks again for being a PCG client. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.